Ryan at Crutchfield Automotive. Working on old Big Booty Judy here, my 2015 Ram 6.7. And we gotta get in there. Why, you may ask? Why do we have to get in there? Because I don't have an exhaust brake. My turbo actuator's gone nuts. I say nuts, I've only got a code once, and that's the only symptom is that I don't have a turbo. What is happening with the color of this? What in the world? Anyway, whatever. Let's get into this thing. City Diesel makes an actuator replacement that does not need programmed, and is supposedly a much better quality than going back with an OEM actuator on your turbo. So there's several steps we got to go through here to get to it, but let's look at that kit first. So first, it was very well packaged as far as the boxing, very secure, lots of good bubble wrap. So we've got, I'll be honest, I don't mess with these enough. So the pieces, I'm not even gonna try to name them as far as that goes. So this is the gears itself that will turn that actuator in a moment, or the part of the actuator that will turn the vanes in the turbo. But this is what we're looking like when the full package is opened. I can't remember, but I think if you have a prior to 2013, you don't need all of this from City Diesel, but this package is sitting right about just over $1,000. So a little expensive, but hopefully this does the trick, and we'll know when we crank it up in a minute. But first things first, we got to drain some coolant. So we'll go ahead and pop this cap, and I'm gonna clean that because that's horrible. All right, next thing you got to do is drain your coolant, because the coolant's going to go through your turbo. So pop your cap off your degas bottle. I'm going to move this power steering bottle over and out of the way just to get more room. And down on the side of the radiator, that's your plug right there. All right, so for me, this is what I was able to use. It's a 10mm hex head on the inside. I guess this is for tamper-proof. I really don't know what you were doing there, Cummins or Ram. Maybe you've got a special little socket for that, but anyway, drain your coolant. Next thing we're gonna do is, over here, we're gonna take out this inner fender lining to give us access to the turbo. So I've got, looks like some 8. I've done this once or twice. I don't remember if there was any clips. I believe there are some clips, but 8mm. Just work your way around this fender liner. Good gracious, easy for you to say, and get it out of the way. Fender liner out of the way. We got our first access to this actuator. So, getting it out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 hex heads, and I'll give you the size of them. Go ahead and unplug that connector, and we'll get those hex heads. Hey, little spider. Little fella, what's up? You got to get off my actuator there because I got to have it. But yeah, I'll see if there's anything else that needs to be moved, but it's been a minute since I've done a actuator on one of these. But those hex heads will get it off of there. Unplug that. Reroute that wire. I believe that's a 10mm. Get it off of there. So I went ahead and removed the tire just so it's easier to get in here. But this is a little bit of an issue though. Those two 5mm come out easily. This one, not so bad. That one, man, you better have the shortest 5mm you can find to get it back there. T30 will work, but well, you can see the one I've been working with, but I mean, it's barely the length of my finger to get back there. Once that's off, dry. Put the two halves together. I take a T15 on those little 4 corners. There's a gasket that comes between these 2 housings. So I'm gonna get the other one out of the way. I'm gonna plug this end to end. Again, dry. These gaskets will go here. And once I plug it in, I'm gonna turn the key on and make sure that this actuator does what it's supposed to. It's supposed to move fully in one direction and then come back the other. I believe it goes down and back. But once this housing is off, before I even put the new one in, we got to make sure the turbo is good. So I'm going to show you how to move that back and forth with your finger. And if that doesn't work, you're actually going to need a turbo and not just the actuator. So Moment of truth. Time of truth. I haven't touched it yet, but this should be able to freely move. It moves. I don't have to put a lot of pressure on it. It does. I don't know. Huh. To be honest, I've never had to do this, so I really don't know. Like, it moves with one hand. Don't know for sure if that's how much play it's supposed to have, but it does go full range. It doesn't feel like it's overly hard to push to me, so I'm gonna clean all that up. I'm gonna plug the new one in and we'll see what happens. So, key is on. I'll plug this in. That's free. The actuator should turn. All right, I hope that's right. I honestly don't know because I've never used theirs, so we'll see. I'm gonna put it back on and we'll go from there. It's hot out here. So, yeah, that one got me a little bit. One of those bolts is hard to come out, but put it back the same way that you took it out. I tested it. Now it's time to see if it's gonna work. Let's see if the exhaust brake comes on. All right, it's still showing low coolant even though I've topped it off. Probably got a little air. So, exhaust brake on. Let's get from about 60 and see what it does. I've got an exhaust brake. Look at that. And it feels more peppy. That worked. Needed that turbo actuator. That one is from City Diesel. Again, it's a little over $1,000. 4 bolts, a couple of plugs. As far as taking it off of the turbo, they say as long as your gear moves freely, and as long as your gear is not cracked, you know, if you got a broken turbo, obviously the actuator's not going to fix it. But I've got an exhaust brake again. It's not a terrible job. It's not super easy, but not terrible. My actuator is working fine now. My boost, I can tell that the truck's got better power. It's probably going to have better fuel mileage again, and I can go and tow once more. I did not want to tow without having my exhaust brake and not knowing how the turbo is acting. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. No programming necessary. Plug and play. Get you one.